batteries freeze, electric sensors short out in the mud. Yet Amish farmers catch entire herds of wild boars, super pigs that destroy crops and outsmart most modern traps, using nothing but wood, gravity, and a careful understanding of physics. Their secret is a century-old trick that turns a pig's natural curiosity into its downfall with one nudge of a stick. How does this low-tech system, built with nothing more than a wedge, a spiral fence, and an understanding of animal weakness, succeed where technology fails? The answer starts at the very first trigger. A wooden wedge, shaped by hand and worn smooth from use, sits pressed beneath a mound of corn. This is the heart of the trap. A simple stick balanced at a shallow angle, holding back a gate that weighs nearly 200 pounds. Every detail matters. The wedge must be soft enough to yield, but strong enough not to crumble under the weight of the door. Its angle is set with care, usually between 20 and 30 degrees, so that the smallest nudge will send it slipping free. The builder checks the fit with calloused fingers, testing the friction between the stick and the gate's base. Too tight, and nothing moves. Too loose, and the trap springs before the pigs arrive. The corn pile draws the wild boar in, their snouts rooting deeper with every breath. Pigs are built to dig, and this instinct is their undoing. When a snout presses against the wedge, the stick shifts. Gravity takes over in an instant. The gate, cut from thick oak planks and reinforced with iron bands, drops straight down, traveling 3 feet in less than a second. There is no warning, no mechanical whir, no battery to fail. Just the silent release of a deadfall gate, powered by nothing but weight and physics. This design does not rely on wires or electronics. There are no sensors to short out in the mud, no batteries to freeze on a January night. Instead, every part is built for the long haul: wood that swells tight in the rain, iron that shrugs off frost. The trap can be reset in minutes, using only a pry bar and a new wedge. The builder often carries a pocket full of sticks, each one carved to a slightly different thickness, ready for changes in weather or wood grain. Once the gate has fallen, the pigs are contained, unable to lift the heavy barrier or find a weak spot. The entire mechanism is visible, easy to inspect, and impossible for a boar to outsmart. The wedge, now lying in the trampled corn, becomes a lesson in humility. What nature gives in curiosity, the trap takes away with physics. The work of hands and simple tools has outlasted another winter, holding the line where technology falters. On a cleared patch of ground, the trap builder sketches a spiral in the dirt with the tip of a boot. This is the foundation of the Figure 6 layout, a fence that bends and coils, guiding wild boar in a single unbroken path toward the bait. The spiral is no accident. It is shaped by an understanding of how pigs see and move. Swine have wide-set eyes that give them a panoramic view ahead, but their side vision is poor and their depth perception is narrow. When a boar encounters a barrier, it follows along the edge, searching for an opening, but it cannot easily spot a gap that lies just around a tight corner. The fence itself is built from stout wooden rails or livestock panels, anchored firmly with posts driven deep into the earth. The builder spaces each curve so that the path narrows gradually, forming a channel that draws the pigs deeper inside. The entrance sits at the outer curl of the spiral, wide enough for a full-grown sow to pass through without hesitation. As the animal moves forward, the walls close in, and the route bends inward, always leading toward the central bait pile. The pigs press on, noses to the ground, following the scent and the fence line, unaware that every step carries them farther from escape. Years of observation have shown that pigs struggle with sharp turns. Their bodies are built for rooting and running in straight lines, not for doubling back or weaving through tight spaces. In the figure 6, the spiral curves are set just tight enough to confound their instincts. Once inside, a pig that tries to retrace its steps finds only more fence, the exit hidden behind a series of blind bends. Even when panic sets in, the animals circle and circle, unable to solve the puzzle. Studies of swine locomotion confirm this weakness. Adult hogs can turn in wide arcs, but balk at radii less than their own body length. The spiral exploits this limitation, transforming a simple fence into a nearly foolproof corral. This layout does not require any moving parts, sensors, or electronics. The entire trap is powered by geometry and the pig's own behavior. Builders often draw the design out on paper or scratch it into barn boards before construction begins, refining the curves until the path flows just right. Once the spiral is staked and the panels are set, the enclosure stands ready, silent, patient, and perfectly tuned to the animal it is meant to contain. A heavy wooden panel, shaped from thick boards and braced with iron, hangs on a pair of angled hinges at the narrowest point of the spiral fence. The builder works quietly, checking the swing of the door by hand. This is the only entry, what some call the saloon door, a one-way valve designed to let pigs in but never out. Its secret lies in the geometry. The hinges are set so the door swings easily inward, pushed by the snout or shoulder of a hungry boar. The moment the animal passes through, the door falls back into place, guided by its own weight and the slight slope of the frame. From the inside, the same door jams against a stop, refusing to budge no matter how hard the pig shoves or rams it. The wood is worn smooth from years of use, but the fit is always tight. The builder demonstrates the motion, pulling the door open with a single finger from the outside, then pressing against it from within. It does not move. The design is simple, but the effect is profound. Pigs can enter at will, drawn by the scent of bait and the promise of easy food, but once inside, their route vanishes. There is no latch, no spring to fail, no metal to rust or freeze, just the steady resistance of wood and the force of gravity, working together to create a one-way passage. This door transforms the trap from a single-use snare into a continuous catch system. On a good night, a trap like this can hold not just 1 or 2 pigs, but entire sounders, 10, 20, sometimes even 30 animals at once. The record books are filled with stories of farmers waking to find a pen packed shoulder to shoulder, every pig lured in by the same easy entrance. The numbers are no accident. Unlike traditional traps that must be reset after each catch, the saloon door remains open for business, admitting new arrivals as long as the bait holds out. The builder checks the bias of the door, adjusting the angle of the hinges with a mallet and a chisel. Too much resistance, and the pigs hesitate. Too little, and the door swings open from the inside, ruining the trap. Years of trial and error have refined the angle to a science, just enough to allow entry, never enough to permit escape. The capacity of these traps has changed the way farmers approach wild boar control. Instead of picking off individuals, they can now remove entire groups in a single night, tilting the odds back in favor of the crops and the people who tend them. The saloon door stands as a quiet sentinel, proof that a well-placed piece of wood can outthink even the most determined intruder. A wild boar's strongest weapon is not its tusks, but its nose. With each snout pressed to the ground, these animals search for weaknesses, soft earth, a loose board, any gap that can be turned into an escape. For most farmers, the battle is fought at the surface, But for those who have watched pigs vanish beneath a fence, the real fight is underground. On the edge of a field, a row of men and boys kneel in the dirt. They work with shovels and spades, slicing a narrow trench along the inside perimeter of the enclosure. The air is cool, the soil dark and heavy. Every foot of ground is measured by hand, 12 inches deep and just wide enough for a roll of wire mesh. The mesh itself is thick gauge, stiff enough to resist bending, and cut in long strips that uncoil with a metallic snap. Each length is pressed flat against the trench wall, then bent outward at a right angle, forming what trappers call an L-footer, a barrier that extends a full foot underground, then flares out another foot beneath the surface. This is not a quick job. Every post must be checked, every seam overlapped and wired tight. The mesh is pinned down with rocks and soil, the outward bend buried so that even the most determined hog will find nothing but hard steel and packed earth. As the trench is filled in, the barrier disappears from view, but its presence is felt with every attempt at tunneling. Pigs are notorious diggers, able to root under shallow fences in minutes, but when their snouts hit the buried skirt, progress stops cold. The L-footer turns their own strength against them. Every push only presses the wire tighter to the ground. Electric fencing, by contrast, offers speed but little certainty. A single strand strung low to the ground can shock an animal, but when weeds grow up in summer or snow drifts in winter, the current shorts out. Batteries fade in the cold. Rain and mud corrode the connections. The fence becomes just another obstacle, not a true barrier. In the worst cases, a boar will test the wire, find it dead, and dig unimpeded beneath it. Crop losses mount, and the cycle repeats. The buried skirt demands more at the start, more hands, more hours, more sweat. But once in place, the trap is sealed from below. There are stories of boars weighing nearly 300 pounds, caught by the snout as they tried to burrow out, only to be turned back by the unseen wall. The labor is shared, each person taking a stretch of fence, the work passing from father to son, neighbor to neighbor. By the end of the day, the only sign of their effort is a line of fresh earth and the certainty that nothing will escape by going under. The fence stands as a silent challenge to the wild boar's most basic instinct. Where technology falters, a buried skirt endures. A narrow opening is measured out with a carpenter's rule, just wide enough for a piglet but too tight for a full-grown sow. The builder kneels, adjusting the gap by hand, sliding a board an inch this way, a finger's width that way, until the fit is exact. The entrance looks almost accidental, just a missing slat at the base of the fence, but it is the first move in a carefully staged game. Corn is scattered beyond the gap, a trail leading deeper into the spiral, and the smallest piglets are the first to find it. Their noses twitch at the scent, and they slip inside, eager and unafraid. For days, sometimes a full week, the piglets come and go, feeding freely. They grow bolder with each visit, leaving their scent and their droppings behind, marking the trap as safe ground. The builder returns each morning to check the tracks and the corn. If the piglets hesitate, he widens the opening by a fraction. If they rush in, he waits. Patience is the rule. The sow circles the fence, watching her young from outside, her instincts warring between caution and the pull of her litter. Maternal drive is relentless. The piglet's calls and the promise of easy food eventually draw her closer. After a week of steady feeding, the sow's wariness fades. She will push through a barrier she once refused, desperate to reach her young. The builder knows this rhythm well. He times the final adjustment to the day, a last narrowing of the gap, just wide enough for the matriarch to force her way in, triggering the mechanism that will close the trap on the entire family. This is not luck or guesswork, but an understanding of animal behavior learned over seasons. By shaping the entrance and waiting for the right moment, the trap turns the sow's devotion into its most reliable lure. When modern technology fails in the cold and batteries die or sensors get clogged with mud, the Amish rely on what does not fail: gravity and leverage. That battery-free approach makes traps far more reliable in the brutal winter where super pigs thrive. Instead of a tripwire, a wooden prop called the root stick is wedged into a corn pile. When a pig does what it loves and roots for corn, it nudges the stick and a 200-pound wooden gate drops instantly, powered only by gravity. They build fences in a spiral, a figure-6 shape, so pigs follow the fence line inward toward the food. Because pigs have limited peripheral vision and cannot turn sharp corners easily, they cannot figure out how to navigate the spiral back out. This continuous catch is the figure-6 strategy. Entry is one way. Spring-loaded or angled wooden doors push open easily from the outside, but jam when pushed from the inside, letting the trap hold 10, 20, or 30 pigs in a single night without resetting. This simple valve is the saloon door. Instead of relying on electric wires that fail when weeds touch them, they bury heavy-gauge wire mesh 12 inches underground and bend it outward to form an L footer, physically stopping pigs from tunneling under. This is the buried skirt barrier. They use patience. Piglet-only entrances keep the massive boars out at first, letting the piglets get comfortable eating inside. The maternal instinct of the sow eventually drives her to smash her way in to join her babies, and the matriarch becomes the catch. This patient staging is the creep feeder tactic. A wooden barrel half buried at the edge of the field holds the secret weapon, sour corn. The process begins days in advance. Shelled corn is poured into the barrel, covered with water, and left to ferment under a loose lid. As the days pass, a pungent scent develops, sharp, sweet, and unmistakable. Fermentation releases volatile compounds that drift on the wind and reach the sensitive snouts of wild boar long before a human can detect a trace. On the day of baiting, the builder stirs the barrel with a wooden paddle, breaking up the thick layer of bubbles on top. The corn at the bottom is slick and swollen, heavy with the sour aroma that masks any hint of human touch. He scoops the bait into buckets and carries it to the heart of the trap. Each handful is scattered in a wide arc, some tossed just outside the entrance, the rest piled deep inside the spiral. The scent lingers in the air, seeping into the soil and clinging to every board and post. Wild boar are drawn to the smell with a force that overrides their usual caution. Studies of swine olfaction show pigs can detect fermentation gases from hundreds of yards away, especially at night when the air is still. The sourness not only attracts, it also covers the human scent left behind during setup. Even the most wary sow, one who has learned to avoid fresh footprints and strange oils, finds herself pulled toward the bait. The effectiveness of the sour corn is not measured in speed, but in certainty. Over the next few nights, tracks appear in the mud, then wallows, then the first bold piglets. The barrel is checked and refilled as needed, the fermentation cycle never stopping. The trap builder knows that as long as the scent persists, the wild boar will keep coming, drawn by a lure that no machine or modern gadget can improve. If a trap is ignored, they call the Sunday drive. 50 or more community members walk shoulder to shoulder through a woodlot, making noise to herd the sounder toward the figure-6 trap. Human coordination and patience do what machines cannot, outmaneuvering the pigs. By removing the technology that can break, such as cameras, receivers, and solenoids, and by relying on the biology of the pig, on rooting, and on the laws of physics, gravity does the work. The Amish show that sometimes the oldest tool is the sharpest one. Simplicity wins. 50 men and boys line up along the edge of the woodlot, boots pressed into last year's leaves, each holding a wooden staff or a length of split rail. At the center, a single voice gives the signal, a sharp whistle rising above the early morning hush. The line begins to move, slow and steady, sweeping through the underbrush in perfect unison. Every step is measured, every gap closed. The youngest boys watch their elders, learning the rhythm of the drive. No one rushes. Safety comes first. Each person keeps a careful distance, watching for sudden movement in the brush. The drive coordinator, usually the most experienced farmer, calls out short commands to keep the formation tight. If a gap opens, a whistle brings the line back together. The wild boar, startled by the rising wall of sound and movement, bunch together and begin to run. The group advances, pushing the sounder toward the open mouth of the spiral trap. The pigs have nowhere to turn. The line bends as it meets the fence, guiding the animals along the path already set by the builder's design. This is not a hunt. No firearms are carried, and no dogs are used. The goal is to move the animals as one, using noise and presence to outthink them. The drive can take an hour or more, depending on the size of the woodlot and the number of pigs. When the last animal passes through the entrance, the line stops. Another whistle sounds, and the group stands back, letting the trap do its work. The pigs are inside, caught by a combination of patience, coordination, and the quiet authority of the drive coordinator. In the end, it is not technology or brute force that wins, but the careful choreography of hands and voices working together. Every year, invasive wild boars cause over $2.5 billion in U.S. crop damage. Technology alone struggles to contain those threats. As engineered solutions fail, the Amish remind us deep knowledge of nature and simple physics can still outsmart even the most relentless adversaries. In a world racing toward complexity, sometimes the most resilient barrier is built by hand. Share your thoughts below.